First story. My boyfriend's entitled fiance left my boyfriend after I cheated with him, took his son with her, did not invite me to my stepson's birthday party, and then demanded child support. So I served her custody papers to hand over her son to me. I can raise her son better. Now my boyfriend broke up with me, and I regret my actions. So this might be long, but I honestly need an outside perspective, because I'm starting to feel like I'm losing my mind. I 30F have been dating my boyfriend Ryan 30M for about 3 years now. But our history actually goes way back. We were high school sweethearts. We lost touch during college, reconnected years later through social media, and eventually became close again. The thing is, when we reconnected, Ryan was still living with his then fiancée, Tara 29F, who was pregnant at the time. Now, I want to be upfront. When we started talking again, it wasn't romantic. Ryan was clearly going through a lot. He was overwhelmed, stuck in a relationship that seemed like it was only being held together because of the baby. He told me they fought constantly, mostly about trust, money, and his so-called emotional distance. I didn't insert myself into their drama. I was just being there for him as a friend. That was it. But Tara didn't see it that way. She started showing up at places Ryan and I would meet up at. This wasn't like date nights. This was coffee, sometimes lunch, sometimes us running into each other in public. More than once, she walked up and confronted me. One time, I was literally at a mutual friend's BBQ. Ryan showed up alone, and she cornered me in the backyard, demanding to know if I was sleeping with her fiancé. I told her no, that I had no part in their personal stuff, and that Ryan and I were just friends. But she wasn't having it. That woman has had a vendetta against me ever since. They broke up when she was about 7 months postpartum, and I don't know all the ins and outs. But I do know she took the baby and just disappeared, deleted social media, blocked his number, stopped replying to his family, everything. This was peak COVID too, so it's not like it was easy to find her or legally move things along. Ryan went months without knowing where his own son was. That whole time, I was the one holding him together. We got closer. We lent on each other. Eventually, we realized our feelings weren't just friendship anymore and started dating. It happened gradually and naturally, and after everything he'd been through, it felt like he deserved something stable for once. When Ryan finally did get to see his son again, it was supervised visits at a state-run center. Imagine not seeing your own kid for nearly a year. And when you do, it's with a stranger in the room, watching your every move like you're some kind of criminal. It broke him. Meanwhile, Tara didn't want to speak to Ryan directly about anything. All communication had to go through either her lawyer or her sister. But the real kicker, she started asking me, not even Ryan, me for money. Out of nowhere. Can you help with formula? Your boyfriend should pay half for this daycare. Girl, what? So yeah, I stepped in. I told her that if she couldn't afford to care for the child full time, Ryan and I would be more than willing to take him. We weren't playing games. If she wanted full custody, she had to be financially responsible. If she couldn't do that, then give us a shot at raising him properly. After a few tense back and forths, Tara requested to meet me in person. She said she wasn't comfortable with her son being around someone she'd never had a conversation with. I agreed to meet. I figured this could be an opportunity to finally squash the tension. We met at a neutral place, some outdoor cafe. She was cold but civil, and I kept it polite. I said I wasn't trying to take her place, that I understood she was protective as a mom, but that I wasn't going anywhere, and I cared about Ryan and his son. She barely made eye contact, mumbled something about boundaries, and left. I genuinely thought things were maybe slightly better after that. They weren't. A couple of months later, Ryan and Tara threw a joint birthday party for their son. This was mostly her planning. It was at her parents' house. Ryan got to invite his side, but I was not invited. Ryan seemed caught off guard too, but didn't push it. I told him it was fine, that I wouldn't cause drama by showing up where I wasn't welcome. But yeah, it stung. I've been raising that kid half the time he's with us. I know what snacks he likes. I've rocked him to sleep, and I've wiped puke off my clothes at 2 a.m. I'm not trying to be his mom, but I sure as hell am doing a lot more than most step people get credit for. So yeah, maybe I got a little petty. The very next day, I served Tara with papers on behalf of Ryan to contest the child support agreement. We had both discussed it for months, and after the party snub, we decided we weren't waiting anymore. I went to her place with the documents. She opened the door, saw me, and raised an eyebrow. I handed them to her and said, "Sorry, just doing what I was asked." She laughed in my face and slammed the door shut. And that brings me to this week, when the whole thing blew up again. Apparently, one of our mutuals snitched to her about a few social media posts I shared. I reposted a few memes and infographics about child support inequality, parental alienation, and stuff like that. Nothing directly about her. But she texted me flipping out saying I was clearly aiming them at her, and that I had no right to insert myself in matters of custody, child support, or her son. That I didn't know what she'd been through, and that I sounded ignorant. I told her, I'll insert myself wherever I see fit. If you think those posts are about you, maybe ask yourself why they feel relevant. She didn't respond. 2 days later, Ryan got a message from her lawyer about the social media posts, stating that she considered them harassment, and that any future commentary, whether direct or implied, would be documented for possible defamation or intimidation claims during future custody proceedings. Let me repeat that. Public posts, no names, no direct accusations somehow turned into a legal threat. And the posts weren't even mine originally. They were reposts. But fine, message received. She doesn't want me commenting on her behavior, even if it's indirectly. Ryan told her to back off. That if she wanted to keep things professional and legal, fine, but I wasn't some stranger on the sidelines. I live with him. I help raise his son. I deal with all the behind-the-scenes stuff when she goes radio silent or drops the kid off last minute without enough clothes or diapers. Her response: you chose her. You deal with the consequences. So now I'm the punishment. Got it. And here's the part no one really talks about in these situations. Being the girlfriend of the dad doesn't come with any recognition, but all the responsibility. I have no rights, no say, but I'm still expected to pick up the slack. Ryan can't make all the appointments guess who takes off work. She decides to drop the kid off 2 days early with no warning guess who rearranges everything to make it work. But I'm not allowed to speak on it. Because it's not my business. Tara's entire narrative is that I'm some homewrecker who swooped in when she was vulnerable. That's what she's been feeding people since day one. Even though the timeline proves otherwise. Even though she had already kicked Ryan out of their shared apartment when we started dating. Doesn't matter. She's framed herself as the victim and me as the opportunist. She's even tried turning Ryan's family against me. His mom told me Tara reached out, saying she was worried about her son being raised in a hostile environment, and that she might push for supervised visits again if she thought I was interfering. That's a direct threat, based on nothing. And the most hypocritical part. She's living with her new boyfriend and left her son with him for 3 nights while she went out of state for a bachelorette party. No warning, no check-in. But I'm the threat? After all this, Tara had the nerve to tell me to stay out of her affairs. When the reality is, her affairs are my house, my living room, my fridge, my car, and my weekends. I haven't said anything since that text. I've kept quiet publicly. But I'm tired of walking on eggshells. I've put in real emotional and financial investment here. I didn't ask to co-parent. I didn't ask for her drama. I didn't ask for this kid's life to be chaotic. But I've shown up anyway. So yeah, I told her. If she believes those posts apply to her, maybe there's a reason. And I don't take it back. She's never liked me, never respected me, and never acknowledged that I've done more for her child than most people would. I get that she's the mom. She has the legal control and the emotional bond and all the leverage. I'm just the girlfriend. But when I'm the one picking up the pieces every time she decides to screw around with custody, or money, or Ryan's mental health, I think I've earned the right to have an opinion. Now she's gone silent again. Probably waiting to strike back with something dramatic later. But whatever. I'm over pretending this is neutral ground when she spent 3 years making it a battleground. So, Ada? Comments. Comment 1. YTA. I say this as a divorced dad who pays child support and still has to deal with a high-conflict ex. Here's the thing you need to get. That child is not your legal or moral responsibility. You can love him, you can care for him, but you don't own a stake in decisions. You're acting like you're a third parent when you're not even married to the guy. Second, serving legal papers yourself. That's a hostile move. That's not supporting your boyfriend. That's inserting yourself in a legal battle that isn't yours. And yeah, if a court said supervised visits were required, there's a reason. They don't just hand those out like parking tickets. You even admitted you don't know what happened before she disappeared. And then the posts? I don't care if you didn't name names. Everyone in your circle knows who you meant. You're not just voicing opinions, you're provoking someone who already doesn't trust you. You're not neutral. You're escalating. Ryan should be handling this directly with his lawyer. You're turning his custody case into some weird territorial drama and giving his ex ammo to paint him as unstable by association. Comment 2. Also, YTA. You keep saying you've done nothing wrong. But girl, seriously. You got close to a guy while he was still living with his pregnant fiancée. You might not have kissed him, but you knew what you were doing. Tara wasn't paranoid. She saw something happening and called it out. Then you try to say, well, if she can't afford the kid, we'll just take him. Like it's a custody exchange at a pawn shop. What? Child support exists for a reason. Raising a kid alone is expensive as hell. It doesn't mean the mum is failing. It means the dad needs to pay what's legally and morally owed. And don't even get me started on the birthday party drama. She didn't invite you. Boo-hoo. It's her kid. That doesn't make her the arsehole. Your response was to show up the next day with court papers like some discount debt collector. Come on. I don't know if you realize how wild this all sounds to someone who's been in Tara's shoes, but you sound more like a jealous ex than a supportive partner. Comment 3. There's way too much entitlement in this post for someone who legally has zero standing in this custody case. YTA. First, supervised visitation is court-ordered. It doesn't happen randomly or out of cruelty. If she had to flee and hide with the child, and the court still gave her full custody and him supervised time, it strongly suggests there were safety or stability concerns. Courts don't just rubber stamp that unless there's documentation. Also, asking the custodial parent for child support doesn't make them unfit or irresponsible. Your logic is backwards. If Ryan has visitation and limited custody, it makes total sense he'd owe support. You trying to frame that as, well, maybe she can't afford the kid, and offering to take him instead is honestly disturbing. And the paper serving. That's aggressive. If Ryan has a lawyer, they should have handled it. The fact that you took it upon yourself, then got laughed at, and are now playing victim over that. Girl, stop. You're not just in the wrong. You're an active liability in his custody case. He needs a lawyer and some serious boundaries, not a partner escalating fights with the mother of his child. Update. So a lot's happened since my original post, and seeing how much Reddit twisted the story, I figured I'd clear a few things up, because some of y'all clearly live in a fantasy world, where bitter exes magically co-parent perfectly, and new partners just shut up and smile from the sidelines. Not how real life works. Let's start here. I was the one in the relationship with Ryan. He chose me. He wanted to be with me. She lost him because she couldn't keep him. That's the truth. She didn't nurture the relationship. She didn't support him. And she sure as hell didn't create a stable home for their kid. That's why he started looking elsewhere for someone who actually had his back. So no, I'm not the outsider here. She is. She had her chance, and she blew it. You don't get to keep the man, the kid, and absolute control just because you gave birth. It doesn't work like that. Now, here's what's gone down. Turns out, one of our so-called mutual friends, the same one who was sharing my posts around, actually forwarded them to my HR department. Honestly, snake behavior. They claimed I was posting anti-single mom content and suggested it could reflect poorly on the community-based nonprofit I work for. I got pulled into a meeting. HR didn't discipline me, but they told me to set everything to private and be mindful of optics. So fine, I locked everything down. But guess what? That was just fuel for Tara. She sent her lawyer screenshots and claimed I was bullying and harassing her online. Then she filed to modify custody. The paperwork literally says she believes the child is in a hostile, emotionally unsafe environment when with us because of me. She's trying to push for restricted visitation again. After everything Ryan went through to get his time back. After she disappeared for months and made him visit his own kid under supervision like a damn criminal. She's doing it again because I reposted a few graphics and because I dared to say out loud what everyone else whispers. She uses that child to hurt Ryan, not raise him. Meanwhile, this woman still can't manage basic parenting. Their son shows up at our place with worn-out shoes and a plastic bag of stuff that's usually missing something: no toothbrush, no meds, no change of clothes. One time he came with an ear infection that had been ignored. But I'm the threat. And now Ryan's lawyer is telling him I need to take a step back. That my involvement complicates the optics, and that I should avoid being in communication with Tara at all. Like I'm supposed to pretend this kid doesn't live in my house half the week. Like I don't know his routine better than either of them, because I'm the one actually doing the day-to-day SHT, while they play tug of war over court filings and money. Ryan repeated it to me like it was gospel. It's better for the case if you just stay out of it. So I said, maybe it's time you act like the father, instead of Tara's emotional hostage. He didn't like that. But here's what he knows and just won't say. His ex can't provide SHT. She's still bouncing between low-end jobs, dumping the kid on her mum when she's overwhelmed, and crying broke every time support gets brought up. She's not stable. She's not consistent. And every time things don't go her way, she starts another round of punishment using the child as a chess piece. And before anyone starts foaming at the mouth about support, yes, Ryan pays it. Yes, on time. Yes, it's been calculated by the court. But apparently, it's never enough, because now she's asking for back pay and legal fees from this new motion. She's saying the original order didn't cover all expenses, and that he owes more because of my interference. It's laughable. We were trying to reduce the amount when we served her based on how much time Ryan actually spends with his son. Now not only did we lose that motion, but the court sided with her and left the payments as is, and her lawyer is pushing for him to cover some of her court costs too. So not only are we still paying the sames, but now we're bleeding money for the privilege of defending ourselves against her tantrums. I don't feel bad. I don't regret the posts. I don't regret standing up. Because someone has to. She is not a victim. She is not an innocent mum just trying her best. She is manipulative. She is petty. She is more interested in controlling Ryan and punishing him for moving on than she is in creating a stable life for her son. And for those of you saying, I should just shut up and support Ryan quietly, do you know what support has looked like for the last 2 years? It's me taking calls from his son's school because no one told them he was with us that week. It's me running out for meds because he came over sick, and she didn't even pack a thermometer. It's me wiping tears, scheduling pediatrician visits, packing lunches. She birthed him. I've raised him. She just hates that I exist. That's the real issue. She's losing control over her narrative, and instead of adapting, she lashes out. And if she keeps digging her heels in and refusing to do what's best for that kid, she's going to lose him, maybe not through the courts, but when he grows up and starts asking questions. Because he will. They all do. I'll say it again for the people in the back. No one is harming that child. She just doesn't like that I'm part of the picture. And she's trying to burn the whole thing down over pride. When is she going to realize she doesn't get to gatekeep her child from a healthy, stable environment, just because she hates the woman who provides it? And before you ask again, no, I'm not backing off. Comments. Comment 1. I don't care how many diapers you change or how many pediatrician visits you schedule YTA. And honestly, you sound unhinged. You keep saying, if she can't feed the child she had, she shouldn't have had him. What the actual F is that? So anyone who falls on hard times deserves to lose their kid to the guy's new girlfriend. Jesus Christ. Do you hear yourself? You're not concerned for that child. You hate this woman. You resent her for existing, for ever having a claim to the man you want all to yourself. Every word you write drips with that insecurity. And let's be clear, Ryan is not innocent here. He didn't fight for his rights when he should have. He let the courts decide supervised visits, and you admit you don't even know why that happened. Maybe ask him why he didn't have his SHT together enough to get fair custody from the beginning. You sound like you want a prize for stepping in, but that's what happens when you date a parent. If you can't handle the baggage, don't date someone with a kid. Don't date someone still fighting in family court. And definitely don't act like motherhood is some contest you're entitled to win because you're more stable. Comment 2. This entire situation is legally and strategically messy, and most of that is because of you. You're right about one thing. Tara is using the court system to control access and maintain power, but she can do that because you've made yourself a target. The courts don't care that you wipe the kid's nose or buy him shoes. They care about stability and conflict. And from what you've posted here, you've inserted yourself into direct conflict, repeatedly serving her papers, making veiled accusations on social media, and pushing your partner into legal fights he wasn't prepared to finish. You're turning this into a personal feud with a woman who, for better or worse, has legal standing you do not. Family court doesn't work on emotion or fairness. It works on documented behavior. And you've now provided her with a record of you being combative, disrespectful, and publicly hostile. She will use it. If you actually cared about the child's long-term well-being, you'd be working quietly behind the scenes to de-escalate. Instead, you're out here trying to win. And in family court, the person trying to win is usually the one who loses. Comment 3. Look, I say this as someone who's actually been the step-parent, doing all the work behind the scenes. You're right about how much invisible labor goes into raising a kid that isn't legally yours. I get the resentment. The late-night diaper runs, the school pickups when bio-mom ghosts, the "oh, you're just the girlfriend" attitude from everyone. It's soul-crushing. But here's where you're messing up. You're weaponizing your frustration in all the wrong places. You're pissed at her, sure, but you're burning everything around you in the process, including your relationship and your partner's custody credibility. You're trying to fight a war that's not technically yours. And that always backfires. I don't think you hate the kid, I think you're trying to build a life. And she's constantly interrupting that. But you need to get this through your head. If you keep being this vocal and confrontational, you're going to end up with no say at all. Courts don't reward chaos. They reward people who make the kid's life easier, not louder. Right now, you're just giving her ammunition, and she's running with it. Update. It's been a while. I honestly wasn't planning on coming back, but a few people reached out asking for an update. So, here it is. Everything fell apart. After the last post, Tara filed for relocation, claiming she'd have better resources and more stability in her new partner's city, which just so happens to be 2 states away. The guy. Some well-off dude with a big house and exactly the kind of lifestyle she used to trash nonstop in private. And now suddenly she's out here posting wine-tasting photos and her kid in a private preschool uniform. She played the struggling single mom angle in court just long enough to get approval, and then switched straight into luxury parenting the moment she crossed state lines. The court approved the move. Ryan's time got cut down to holidays and a couple weeks in the summer. Everything we fought for gone. No more regular weekends. No more midweek visits, no more routine. Just supervised Zoom calls and rushed FaceTimes where the kid seems distracted and barely wants to talk. But of course, Tara made sure to document that he's not bonding well with Dad, like it wasn't her plan all along. Around this time, Ryan and I started falling apart too. The stress from the custody battle, the court expenses, the constant back and forth, it all started wearing on him. He was angry and withdrawn and started blaming everyone except the one person who kept checking out of her own parenting responsibilities, including me. It started with small comments. He said I was always involved in things that weren't mine to fix. He told me he was getting tired of fighting 2 people all the time. I asked him what that meant, and he said, "You and her. Everything's a war." I reminded him that I was the one who stepped up when Tara vanished. That I was the one who packed lunches, coordinated school drop-offs, and ran to the pharmacy when their son was sick. I wasn't trying to take over, I was trying to keep the damn ship from sinking while everyone else bailed. He didn't care. He said maybe Tara wouldn't have gone nuclear if I had stayed out of it. That she probably only pushed for relocation because she felt like she was being replaced in her own kid's life. He said maybe he should have stood up to me sooner. Apparently, stepping in while he emotionally tapped out was overstepping. He told me I cost him his son. That was the actual sentence. Not the court. Not the broken co-parenting. Not Tara's manipulation. Me. I ruined what he called a potential smooth transition, like Tara ever gave us that chance. He packed a bag and left that week. I haven't heard from him since. He moved in with his brother and then into a 1-bedroom apartment across town. We never even argued about splitting things. He just vanished from my life, the way Tara used to vanish from his. So now, yeah, I'm single. No contact with the kid, obviously. Tara would never allow that. Ryan hasn't asked either. I assume she's still living it up with her new guy and using her fresh start to repaint herself as a stable mother of the year. I'm not even surprised. What does surprise me is how quickly everyone was ready to throw me under the bus. I didn't take a side, I just didn't sit quietly. That's all it took for everyone to turn on me. I didn't post anything else after the last incident, didn't engage, and didn't even respond when she made snide remarks through the court filings. I kept the peace and still got blamed for trying to win. They all said they wanted cooperation, civility, and respect. But the second someone like me who did the actual work refused to play dead and smile, I was hostile, controlling, and jealous. So no, I don't feel guilty. I don't feel like I overstepped. I feel like I spent 2 years picking up the slack for 2 people too bitter or too broken to do what was best for their kid. And when it was no longer convenient, I became the scapegoat. I didn't lose because I was wrong. I lost because I stopped pretending to be okay with being used. That's it. That's the update. Comments. Comment 1. You lost because you confused access with authority. You were in a high-conflict custody situation, and instead of staying in a support role, you tried to play co-parent without any legal standing. That never works. Courts don't reward emotional investment. They reward structure, consistency, and restraint. You documented yourself publicly being combative, then acted surprised when it got turned around on you. That was naive, if not reckless. Tara weaponized the system, sure. but you gave her the ammo. Every time you stepped into a situation that legally wasn't yours, you gave her one more thing to point to and say, "See, she's interfering." And Ryan, well, he used you as a shield and then blamed you when the arrows hit. It's not about who did more parenting. It's about who has the authority to do it. And the answer was never you. That's why this collapsed. Comment 2. Jesus. This is exactly what happens when people pretend co-parenting is a clean split of logic and legal orders. It's not. It's emotional warfare wrapped in custody papers. And honestly, OP, you walked into a battlefield thinking you were going to install peace. You weren't the arsehole, but you sure as hell weren't neutral either. You clearly hated her, and instead of keeping that private, you made it the undercurrent of every decision, every post, every moment you inserted yourself. You can't bring that energy into an already fragile situation and expect it not to blow up in your face. Ryan, classic passive dad. Wants credit for being involved, but doesn't want the blood on his hands. He let you fight his battles, then blamed you when he didn't like the outcome. He was never going to stand up to her, and he sure as hell wasn't going to stand up for you. The kid. He's the only one who loses in all of this. And honestly, none of the adults in this story acted like they truly prioritized him. They were all too busy fighting each other or blaming each other for the fallout. Harsh truth, but there it is. Second story. I used AI to write my wedding vows, and my fiance walked back down the aisle and broke up with me. I 35M recently had a wedding with my partner 34F. We've had a stable and happy relationship so far, and I love her more than anything in the world. The problem arose when it came to writing vows. Don't get me wrong, I love many things about my partner, but I couldn't figure out how to put them into tangible vows. I decided to use ChatGPT so I can have something well-written and expressive to share at the ceremony. The thing about my partner is that she's very confrontational and no nonsense. If something annoys her, she immediately addresses it with no room for backing out. I also know that she's expressed disdain for AI in the past, but I didn't realize how far the hatred could go. I don't know how, but she immediately recognized that the vows were AI. After I had finished, she had this angry look and whispered to me, "Did you use effing AI to write that?" I was quiet because I couldn't believe she had noticed that, and she was choosing to address it while we were on full display for everyone. She then said that I either speak from the heart or she walks out. I literally couldn't get any words out, and she kept her promise and walked back down the aisle, much to all our friends and family's confusion. She's been ghosting me these past few days, which is atypical for her, and honestly giving me panic attacks. Most people agree that calling off a marriage because of AI vows was an overreaction, and that maybe it was a sign that our relationship would have issues, but a few female friends have said that they would have done the same. I'm hurt and honestly just needed it to help make the day more special. Is it worth fixing? Edit. Okay, I screwed up. I didn't check this post for a while because I wanted more points of view instead of just getting torn to shreds. But I understand why the situation is worse than I thought it was. I've been trying to contact my partner's family to see if I can talk to her again, but apparently she's been staying out of state with her sister. I'm going to tell her when she gets back what I heard here and that I understand. I'm also going to write new vows without AI and bring her favorite flowers and snacks. I still want her to know that I love her and know her. I will post an update when I can. Thank you all, even if some feedback could have been a tad more nicely put. Comments. Comment 1. I don't know why so many men, sometimes women too, but it's usually men have this belief in the back of their heads that they have this overruling right with their female partner, where they can just ignore or dismiss whatever she wants or prefers as long as he thinks he's got a better idea. Like she's a child, and he's the parent who knows better. Every day on these advice subs, dudes come in here like, "She wanted me to buy this specific type of bread, but this other kind was cheaper, so I bought that instead. Why is she mad? She didn't want me to touch her puzzle boxes because she was afraid our kid would lose some pieces. But I thought it would be okay, so I gave him a puzzle. Now some pieces are lost. How do I make her see it's just a stupid puzzle? She has this precious memento from her childhood that I think is weird, and I couldn't take it anymore, so I threw it in the garbage. How do I get her to see it was the right thing? She wanted to buy a very specific dress for our wedding, but I saw what I thought was a similar dress on Temu for $30 and refused to buy any but that one instead. How can I show her she's being irrational and that I'm saving her money? And now we have you. She told me explicitly multiple times that she hates AI, but I felt like it wasn't a big deal and that I needed it, so I used it anyway for my wedding vows. How can I show her she's overreacting? You don't, because she's not overreacting. You disrespected her majorly. You were not the victim here. You knew damn well what her reaction to you using AI would be, and did it anyway because, again, you thought you knew better, and that she wouldn't find out anyway. Again, it's like she's a stupid child, and you're her parent replacing her dead goldfish before she gets home from school. She deserves better than to marry a man who thinks of her that way. She didn't want something that sounded perfect. She wanted something that sounded like you. Stuff like this is precisely why so many people are critical of AI in the first place. It causes people like you to turn human emotional connection into a chore that can be streamlined and replaced by a machine. That's not normal. It's emotionally and spiritually sick, and you need to self-reflect on how you got to this point. OP. I didn't realize she'd be able to tell right away. When I spoke of her disdain for AI, people were making it seem like it was a deal breaker that I simply ignored, which wasn't the case. I didn't understand that it meant that much to her, and I definitely won't be making the same careless mistake again. Comment 2. The thing is, this is a slippery slope. Once you get AI to do something as important as writing your wedding vows, you will even more easily be getting AI to reply to your text messages and creating apology messages when you get into arguments which you didn't even write. At which point she might as well be in a relationship with ChatGPT instead of you. OP. This is my first time using it to write text, and this whole situation scared me off it for good. If I can fix things, hopefully I won't fall into a slippery slope. Comment 3. For $10, she planned the entire wedding. OP probably just had this, and is picking up their tux to remember, and couldn't even be bothered to put in effort on that. OP. I was involved in the wedding process. She always asked for my opinion, and we came to decisions together. I also paid for half. I'm not some freeloader, because if I was, she would have kicked me to the curb a lot sooner. Comment 4. Didn't you have an efficient? Ours offered to help us both individually with vows if we wanted, i.e., even just bullet points of what we wanted to say, and they would help with wordsmithing. AI isn't even well written or genuine. This was a major, expensive, public and preventable incident you caused, and you are not looking for ways to own it and fix it, but for reasons why she's overreacting. OP. I actually thought getting help from the efficient would be less authentic. I guess I took an even worse route without realizing. If OP is neurodivergent, this has been brought up before, but I don't have a reason to believe it's true. I've seen 2 psychiatrists, and none of them had mentioned wanting to get me tested or anything. I think I might just be a dumbo. Update. I honestly wasn't planning to do an update after all because of how humiliating this entire situation has been. I didn't want to give more of a reason for people to rip me apart. But now that my story is posted on a popular YouTube channel, there probably won't be much of an escape route for me. There's no doubt people we know will find it now. So I wanted to give the short update everyone has been itching to get. I did what I said previously and told her about the Reddit post and how the replies gave me her perspective and that I was sorry. She ended up getting even more angry with me about posting our business, even though our names weren't mentioned, and that she couldn't believe I needed online strangers to tell me why I was wrong. Also, apparently my mum was texting her about paying back all the wasted wedding money, and she used that against me too. Which I don't think is fair. I have no control over what my family does. Snacks and flowers didn't do much. She refuses to give me another chance, even after offering to go to couples counseling. So yeah, the wedding is never happening again. It's over. This has been the most horrendous time in my life. I've thought about giving up altogether. Meanwhile, she's posting about brunch with friends on her social media. Makes me wonder how she could move on that fast while I'm a wreck. People have accused me of not caring about her enough to write my own vows. Yet the difference in our reactions to splitting up says the reverse. Hope you're all happy. Feel free to rub salt in the wound. I'm not coming back to this account. Comments. Comment 1. Dude. Paying back all the wasted wedding money. And I have no control over what my family does. Gives me all the information to say this. She dodged a bullet. Comment 2. Oh Jesus effing Christ, you are not the victim in this. Oh, she's moving on so fast, and I'm so miserable. I'm sorry she has a support system, while you choose to wallow in your own self-pity and act like you did nothing wrong. I wish all the best for you, I truly do. But turning this around on her because she has the gall to check notes have lunch with friends doesn't make her the villain you think she is. Also, hope you're all happy. Dude, you asked Reddit for their opinion, and they gave it to you. Grow the F up. Comment 3. Listen, OP, if your woman says to you, I don't like hot sauce, And you, in an attempt to season the food because you aren't very good at it on your own, decide to douse the thing in hot sauce. Who would you say was in the wrong? You for putting something you know she doesn't like on her food, making it intolerable for her. Or her for not being grateful that you made an effort to add some flavor to the dish. Lots of people love hot sauce after all. And you knew you wouldn't have the spices to make it flavorful enough on your own, so isn't this better? Surely she is overreacting, right? But she told you she doesn't like hot sauce in the first place. It is important to her that you bring what you make as it is, and she loves the dish without the sauce. This is what you did on a very small comparative level. She told you she doesn't like AI, but you say that everyone uses AI, and your vows wouldn't have sounded good without it. But she would have loved your vows if they came from the man she loves. Also, I know you can't control what your family says, but my goodness, just defend the woman. Admit you were wrong. So wrong, and you are sorry. Tell her that your family is out of line. If you did this on your wedding day, during an emotionally charged declaration and promise of your love, then you've done it in a million tiny ways before. Maybe it is hot sauce. Maybe it is bringing her to a restaurant she's expressed not liking over and over because you know best. I don't think you are some monster, dude. But my goodness, please check yourself before assuming. She just sucks, and everyone hates you, and life is so unfair. Take the L and use this to learn and grow in the future. Stop thinking that what you bring to the table isn't enough. Stop assuming you know best. And for the love of all that is good, have something good to say to your bride on your wedding day without AI helping. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.